anniversary of the birth of the United States of America. I'm on the corner of 156th Avenue Northeast and Northeast 8th Street in Bellevue, Washington, right next to the Crossroads Mall. This is one of those gotta do it now or never. This sign is pretty explanatory. There's no organization. This is a purely one man spontaneous moment. I will be holding up this sign for a while, I know not how long, at this corner. 156th Avenue Northeast and Northeast 8th Street in Bellevue, Washington. I am live. I may be all alone here, but today is the 249th birthday of America, and America is dying. Will she make it to 250? Or will this be the last birthday of America, the land of the living free? I invite anybody watching this live transmission to come down and join me, even if you don't have your own protest sign, to help increase the consciousness that America, more than ever before, is bleeding. You can put your comments live on here. Unfortunately, I won't be able to see them too well because, well, this is an older model iPhone. I get a newer model and I'm going to get one that doesn't have so much glare. But, c'est la vie. So why me and not the next person down here? First of all, this is not the first time I've seen a public protest at this corner. I saw a bunch of marches here this year, right at this very corner. But again, this is not organized by No Kings Protest or any other organization against Trump and his henchmen trying to turn the United States into a Hitlerian gulag as described in project2025.org. Even if I make a fool of myself and I'm all by my lonesome, well, I tried. Again, I invite anybody, whether you're born here or not, to come down here to just be present with me, with or without a sign, on today, July 4th, 2025, which may be America's last birthday while still alive as a free state. I looked up on Google earlier. Come to a public sidewalk to do a protest without needing a permit. And according to Google, yes, it is. Now, on the other hand, if I had a huge group with me and I was interfering with traffic or anything else in the public discourse, then I would need a permit. Do I expect a man to come down here, suddenly arrest me, throw me in the back, take take me away? It's conceivable, but I really don't think I'm at the top of Donald Trump's food chain. But no matter what, eventually he'll get down to the lowly likes of me. Oh yeah, I posed the question, why me? Well, I had a dad who was somewhat authoritarian. He mellowed out in his later years, but he gave me training on how to recognize an authoritarian spirit. And of course, I've seen a lot of movies through the years about Hitler's Germany and so on and so on. So I know the difference between reasonable rules and not so reasonable rules, and even reasonable rules, but backed up by an authoritarian spirit. And it's something you kind of have to smell out, not something that is easy to describe in words. But I'll try anyway. And that is this: if there is a spirit of us versus them, or me versus him, it's authoritarian or anti authoritarian. Either way, it misses the mark. And yes, I acknowledge that I have been anti authoritarian. But the way we should be is authoritative. The spirit of authoritativeness is that which says, no, you can't do that, but does not project itself as better than you. And to do that consistently is a science and an art. For those of you who didn't see what my sign says, it says America is 249 today. Will we make it to 250? July 4th, 1776 to July 4th, 2025. That's today. On the other side, on the top, it says July 4th, 2025. America is 249 years old today. Here's hoping I don't get disappeared. And the day America was born, July 4th, 1776. I just decided to do this spontaneously today. This wasn't something thought up over a long period of time. I did not have time to pitch this to all of the various resistance groups, such as No Kings. I went to that No Kings protest in Kirkland, Washington on June 14th, 2025, on Trump's 79th birthday, which was also the U.S. Army's 250th birthday. And the U.S. Army, when they were marching, they didn't seem like happy campers. when Trump was watching it, he didn't seem like a happy camper. Well, if you're trying to own the world, you really think if you really think Donald Trump is going to stop with the U.S., Canada, which he wants to make into our 51st state, and Greenland, no. It's like the Nazis said during the late 1930s. Heute Deutschland, morgen die Welt, which means Germany today, tomorrow the world. Dictators do not limit themselves. They want absolute power. If Trump captures America and Canada and Greenland, he'll go after the whole world if you let him. But are we going to let him? Hey, sorry about that. I can't tell whether this is the front camera or the back camera. The glare is that bad. There we are. Now it's the front camera. Hello there, ladies. The neighborhood that I live in is well over 50% immigrant, mostly Microsofties, mostly from India, also a lot of Hispanics, some Chinese. And even though they might not be able to identify strongly as being America, and I did talk to one neighbor, and true to my suspicion, if Trump tries to evict the Microsofties, I think Bill Gates is going to pull a bone with him on that. Well, what about those who are not working for Microsoft? What about those who are here legally, not committing crimes, have been here for a while, and especially have kids born here who have never been to Mexico or to China or India? Is one of Bellevue's finest right there. My experience is that unless they're committing a crime, they don't bother you. Hi there. Just looking at your scooter there. I wish I had it memorized by heart, or at least brought the lyrics with me, but well, I'll sing the first few lines of it. It's based on the song Goldfinger from 1964. Well, I call it Orange Fascist, as in do 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 do. Do, 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 do. Orange fascist. He's the man with the art of the deal. It just ain't real. Dude, such an unhinged fascist, and so on and so on. Any of you out there want that published? I'll get it published and I'll get a lot better person to sing it. I can be pretty good at writing parody lyrics. I never claimed to be a good singer. But if you don't have a problem with that, I'll publish it on Yokel. That's Yokel. Dude, get your sign up. If this just causes one person out there to help get serious to protect our democracy or to keep them from getting sent back to India or Mexico or wherever without due process, then I will consider what I'm doing here today a success. In the grand scheme of things, ah, I, oh, didn't have to do that. I'm not asking for handouts. This is a protest, not trying to get food. Okay. All righty. Somebody thought I was a homeless person soliciting money or whatnot. That was nice of them, but that's not what this is about. Yeah, I know. I could have made the sign bigger. Well, that person, they're an angel offering me money. I turned it down, though. But you know what? In the grand scheme of things, we are all one. That's what e pluribus unum means, roughly translated. It means that if one person suffers, we all suffer. If one person is joyful, we're all joyful. It doesn't look like that in this world. But stand back and watch the salvation of the Lord. Now, I sent out a few invitations. That's the old fashioned, to some friends of mine. Of course, if they not happen to be on the phone, they might not notice it. Say la vie. All right, I'm going to have to get a little bit more serious. When I see cars stopped here, hold the sign so that they will know that this is not about a person experiencing homelessness trying to solicit alms. See, I can barely see through this because the sun is so bright. So you're going to have to bear with me. It's just a small piece of history, what I am publicly declaring, both on the street corner and on the internet, that today, July 4th, 2025, may be America's last birthday as a technically free state. 1 year from now, July 4th, 2026, I may not be allowed to do this. It could very well be that if I come here and do this a year from now, I may get disappeared and sent to El Salvador or to that prison in Florida with a bunch of gators around it that I heard about it, or just shot on the spot. There's the old saying that when they took away the Jews, I didn't care. When they took away the immigrants, I didn't care. When they took away, you fill it in, I didn't care. But when they took me away, there was nobody else left to care. Okay, I hope you're looking at this sign. All right, I'll point the camera away so you don't have to worry about that being filmed. That you may know that this is not a homeless sign. This corner gets a lot of political signs here. There's Bartell Drugs on this corner, the northwest corner, southwest corner. This is the southwest corner. The northwest corner is the Department of, forget what it's called. At the northeast corner is Bank of America, and the southeast corner is that Rocket gas station. Again, the only thing peculiar about this one-man protest is that it's got to be done today on America's, what may well be America's last birthday. Now, regarding the Supreme Court and other courts, they do assert their authority by throwing out Trump's illegal executive orders and the big ugly bill that got passed, but not without first cutting out certain ornery provisions, including the provision that would not allow the courts to cite, give Trump a citation contempt. So far, from January 20th to today, July 4th, the Supreme Court nor any other court has ever cited Trump in contempt. Sure, they could throw out Trump's illegal executive orders saying, you can't do that. You can't disappear people to El Salvador without due process, not even if they did commit crimes, not even if they are here illegally. And then Trump, who is told that he must facilitate the process of returning. Can't remember his name, but you know whom I'm talking about. You can look it up. But he's since been returned. Trump is just playing delay tactics, but if the court holds him in contempt, that means, Mr. President, you got 30 days to comply, or the U.S. Marshals are going to come and arrest your ass and throw your ass in prison. Maybe Trump can just fire back and say, I'm the one in charge of the U.S. Marshals, so neener, neener, neener. And you better display your loyalty to me and bend the knee to me, or I'll send you to El Salvador next. My voice is not very strong right now. Maybe these people are not old enough to remember Nixon and the 60s and the Vietnam War. I was too young to be of age then, but old enough to remember it. So I'm an old fart, almost 70. I lived in a small town in Ohio of about 5,000 people, and there were protests literally out in front of our house. And maybe this has gone out of style. That's why I'm recording it on YouTube. Most of my videos on YouTube have nothing to do with protest yet. Most of my videos are about vacuum cleaners or just whatever else I happen to feel like making a video about at the moment. I've made videos about my trips to Hawaii, my trips to the Grand Canyon, and my trip to Georgia last year. I've only made one live video before, and that was during my trip to Phoenix in 2023. Didn't go over too well, technical problems. But if just one person is watching this and something happens to me, then spread the word. Marshall Curtis was telling the world that July 1st, 2025 may be America's last birthday. While still alive as a free state. But you know what? If 1 year from now we're still a free state, I hope it's because Trump and all of his henchmen got impeached and this time thrown out of office. If Trump resigns because the Republicans went back to their former selves rather than be Trump's lapdogs. Oh, yes, this happened before. Nixon tried to become a dictator in the 1970s, but we only had the three networks, CBS, NBC, and ABC back then. And we had Republicans the likes of Barry Goldwater. He was the losing Republican candidate for president in 1964, but he's the reason, probably more than most, he was willing to tell Tricky Dick Nixon, "You don't have our votes," to forestall conviction. And so Nixon resigned on August 9th, 1974. Nixon died 20 years later in 1994. But that's the last time in our history that any president has made any kind of serious foray into trying to become a dictator. Now, to believe today's Republican Party, they would say that the dictators are the Democrats. Me, I am an independent leaning left. And to prove that I'm an independent, not a Democrat, though most of the presidential candidates I voted for were the Democratic candidate. Well, in 1984, I voted for Walter Mondale, not Ronald Reagan. Reagan won. 1988, I voted for Michael Dukakis, not George Bush, Papa Bush. Papa Bush won. 1992, I did not vote for Bush, nor did I vote for Bubba. I voted for, if you well, the third candidate. Can't remember his name right off. 1996, I did vote for Bob Dole. 2000, I voted for Al Gore, who might have won had the Supreme Court allowed the state of Florida to do a full recount. Well, such is the way. We lost on account of hanging chads and a Republican leading Supreme Court. 2004, I voted for John Kerry. 2008, I voted for Ralph Nader. He was the third wheel. Not Obama, not John McCain, but I could have voted for either one of those two as well. 2012, I wrote in, who is that? Anyway, I wrote in a candidate. It'll come to me. Warren Buffett. But I want to say for the record that Mitt Romney, the losing Republican challenger in 2012, he was the last of the old time traditional non-fascist Republicans to run for president. Mr. 47%. That's what I call him. Oh, there's somebody with an American flag on his truck. You know, most people don't even bother reading the signs. And therefore, they probably assume that I'm a homeless person seeking alms. That's a beeline buster that comes every 15 minutes. They've had those for 14 years. It's about the closest thing that Bellevue has to a subway that arrives every few minutes. For those of you just tuning in, this is Marshall Curtis live in Bellevue, Washington, at the corner of 156th Avenue Northeast and Northeast 8th Street, just next to the Crossroads Shopping Center. I'm at the northwest corner that has Bartell Drugs. It was at this corner, of course, there's three other corners, that I saw maybe about 10 protesters marching here earlier this year on a Saturday afternoon, about 1 p.m. But this is the kind of protest that has to be done today, which could be America's last birthday. I'm hoping that the influence here, if it just causes one person here to take freedom seriously, even if they don't show it outwardly, then this was not in vain. So if George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Benjamin Franklin, and Abraham Lincoln, and both Roosevelts, I was born during Eisenhower's reign, or I should say his presidency, not his reign. And also Kennedy, Johnson. Again, not so sure about Nixon. You get the point. They would probably all be proud of me for doing what I am doing today. But if I had to do over again, I would have made a larger sign. And maybe get a better iPhone that doesn't have all this glare. It's not exactly that sunny out. It's partly cloudy, and it's not hot out. But you wouldn't know it. I can barely tell that it's my front camera filming and not the back camera. I have to do over again. I'd make a larger sign. And one thing I can do over again is when I see cars stopped here, make sure as much as I can that they see the sign. People tend to look away. They're just assuming I'm a homeless person holding up a sign that says, I lost my job, got kids to support, blah, blah, blah. Anything you can spare. No, that's not what this sign says. There's no mention about me and my status on here. It mentions America and America's current status. So imagine you're at the nursing home in January and your parents were born in January, and you all acknowledge, the whole family acknowledges, this is probably his last birthday. And then your parents die a month later. Well, that's exactly how it happened with my dad. That's what I'm trying to say right here. America is on life support and in a nursing home. But sometimes miracles do happen. And that's what I'm praying for. But how should one pray? Pray that the will of the Heavenly Father or Allah or whoever is your God, that his or his righteous will be done. Because in the end analysis, in the grand scheme of things, it is impossible for unrighteousness to prevail. So even if Trump does manage to become a full-blown hit dictator, he will not prevail. The man of lawlessness will not prevail. Just put in the keywords Brother Paul and Trump. You'll find his YouTube videos. He believes that Donald Trump is the Antichrist, and he makes a good biblical case for it. But Donald Trump isn't in charge of the universe. God is. Nice Camaro there. Ooh, a Rivian. Okay, I'm going to pause this, and this is the end of this live video, but I will be going to a part 2 and take a little break. So if you support me, give a like to this video, comments, and peace out.